everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My hair's a little messy because I haven't brushed it yet and I just recently got out of the shower. So today I wanted to do a little story time with y'all about why I quit working at Subway. Now keep in mind, whenever I'm talking about this Subway, I'm only speaking about the store that I worked at. I'm not speaking about the company as a whole, because certainly, what goes on at one store isn't what goes on at another store. So this is just the store that I worked at, and the store that I worked at is no longer there. That location has since closed down. This has been way back whenever I was in my 20s. But anyway, for the most part, I liked the job. I got along pretty well with the other employees. Nothing really unsettling happened in the first few weeks that I was there. The first real incident that kind of just got under my skin, but it wasn't something that was so horrible that I couldn't do my job. It was just more of this person's just a crappy person and likes picking on people. But we had got a girl that came there from another store who had transferred over. And this girl automatically, right through the gate, this girl comes in with just this huge ego of like, she is just the queen of everything Subway. She knows all the ins and outs of everything and how everything is done. This girl is on the same level as me. She's just a sandwich maker. She's not a manager, not an assistant manager, not a crew leader, none of these things. But for some reason, I feel like she signaled me out. Because in her eyes, I couldn't so much as slice a tomato properly without her critiquing it. And it wasn't like she would just come up to me and be like, hey, do it this way and it'll go by faster, or, here's an easier way to do this, or giving me constructive criticism. She would basically treat me like I was a complete idiot. And, so that was kind of getting on my nerves. But for the most part, I would just ignore her, roll my eyes at her, and just be like, whatever, and go about doing my job. But one day, I guess I was already having a bad day, and she was coming in on me, and I just finally looked at her and said, hey, me and you, we have the same job title. My shirt's the same color as your shirt. You're not a crew leader. You're not an assistant manager. You're not a manager. You're not the district manager. You're the same as me. So why are you constantly going at me? And she kind of, in a roundabout way, just basically said because she doesn't like me. So I was like, whatever. And, me and her really just didn't have any more interactions. I had the managers make sure that whenever they scheduled us, that we were not scheduled together. So that finally blew over, and I was starting to just get more comfortable back into the swing of doing everything that I was doing, because now I didn't have to work with this girl, and I didn't have to deal with her just trying to purposely drag me down. In comes our assistant manager, and at first I thought he was a really great guy and everything, and he was really nice and really willing to help the employees, until I figured out that he had ulterior motives, and that he would play more favoritism with the female employees than he would the male employees. Had I known then what I know now, I certainly would have been definitely contacting a lawyer, going to headquarters, and reporting this guy for all the sexual harassment that he was displaying to me and other female employees. The way this Subway was set up, you have the front room where, the tables and stuff are, and then where the sandwiches are made. Then behind that, you have a prep room where we, slice the meat, package everything up, get everything ready for the next day. Behind that is the office, and then behind that is a stock room. The office and the stock room are the only two rooms that did not have cameras. Everywhere else in the building did. So when we would be in the stock room or anything, and he would come back there and he would inappropriately grab me, grab my butt. And I was so shocked, I did not know how to handle that situation at all. And I just kind of brushed it off oh, it's whatever, And now I wish that I had the knowledge to be no, this is sexual harassment, and what he's doing is inappropriate. Him being a manager or assistant manager and me being just an employee, like he's definitely using his, you know, position of power to do these things. And remember the girl that I talked about earlier who would constantly taunt me? Well, apparently her and this manager had worked together before at that store that she transferred from. And him and her were having an affair. And I noticed that they would have like favoritism with each other, but I never knew why. And apparently that's why, is because they worked together at this store and were having an ongoing affair. There was a time whenever I was in the back office, and like I said, this isn't the first time that he's done things, but he would make inappropriate comments, whisper things in my ear, you know, just things to make me very uncomfortable. And one day whenever I was in the back room, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was like swapping out the empty soda syrup containers for new ones. And he came in there and like tried to kiss me, and I like pushed him away, and I was like, no, you know, no. And like just thinking about it, it's so cringy the way that he would act toward the female employees. Him and the manager that we had at that time eventually both got moved to other stores. So I didn't have to deal with him. I was very relieved whenever he left that store. And like I said, I wish that I had. So after he left and everything, I just felt a little bit better. I wish that I had the knowledge that I have now to had reported it or said something, but unfortunately I didn't. I was very young. I didn't know how to handle that kind of situation. So here's my problem that I had with our manager, and it's nowhere as near as bad as that situation, but it's pretty gross. So she was a very greedy woman. Like, she did not like anything affecting her pay grade or anything like that. One day I was in the prep room, and if you've ever worked for Subway, how they do the bread, how they did it then, I don't know if they still do it this way, but how they would do the bread is we would get the bread pre-frozen, pre-cut. It's already molded into the shape of the bread. Well, I had a slip up and accidentally dropped one of the trays and dropped the bread on the floor. So I just pick it up and throw it away and then just start the process over. She comes out of her back office and into the prep area and looks at me and says, "Oh no, we don't throw bread away. We don't throw it away." I was like, "Oh, well, it fell on the floor. You know, I'm not going to use something that fell on the floor." She's like, "Oh no, you just wash it off and stick it in there anyway." And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not serving customers something that fell on the floor. And, she kind of sat there and argued with me, and I was finally like, fine, whatever, okay, yeah. So I went and pulled it out of the trash and acted like I was washing it, and then whenever she was gone, I just threw it away again. Well, that had passed, and I didn't think anything of it ever again till I had another accident, and I dropped some meat on the floor. It's like trying to pack them inside the plastic thing that sits in the prep area up front where they make the sandwiches. And I had accidentally dropped two of the paper packages onto the floor, and the meat fell out of it. So again, I pick it up and just throw it in the trash. Again, she comes to me and is like, "No, we don't do that. We don't throw food away." And I was like, "Well, it fell on the floor. I'm not going to put something in somebody's sandwich that fell on the floor." And she goes into this whole spiel about how anytime we lose food, the food cost cuts into her check. So if we lose bread or we lose this or we lose that, it cuts into her food. It cuts into her check. The food cost cuts into her check. I don't know how true that is, so it may very well cut into her check, but nonetheless, I would rather lose some money over the cost of some food than serve dirty food to my customers. So by this point, I'm already getting frustrated with this job. I'm on the verge of quitting. I'm not happy there. And then, like a miracle from heaven, she gets transferred to another store. So not only is that assistant manager that was sexually harassing me and other girls gone, but now this manager that wants us to like put dirty food on people's sandwiches is gone now. So I was like, yes, thank you. And we got a new manager in, and so a few months pass, and I'm, pretty comfortable at my job. I'm still not, 100% happy there, because it's not the best job. I'm doing a lot of work for only getting paid $4.25 an hour with no raises except for one, which was just a 10-cent raise. And, I had been on and off contemplating quitting. Well, one day this lady comes in, and she's been in there before, and everybody's talked about her. We called her the mayonnaise lady because she wanted just a ton of mayonnaise all over her sandwich, to where her sandwich would, I say, was 95% just mayonnaise. So she comes in, and it's only me and the crew leader there, and he's in the back, and he's just kind of prepping things. And I'm, because it was a slow day. I think it was like a Sunday, so people really weren't coming in. I was standing there, when she comes in, and and I greet her and everything, and she's like, "Oh, I want a tuna on white." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Would you like any cheese?" And she's like, "No, no cheese." So I start making her sandwich, and policy is that for a 6-inch sub, it's 2 scoops of tuna, and then any additional meat on that is $1 extra, or at least that's how it was whenever I worked there. I don't know if that's changed. So I'm making her sandwich, and she looks at it, and she's like, "That's all the tuna you're going to put on it?" I was like, "Well, ma'am, our policy is 2 scoops. If you want extra tuna, it'll be $1 extra, and I can put 2 more scoops on there." She's like, "No, I'm not paying for extra tuna. That's supposed to have more tuna than that on it." Like, full on going Karen on me, alright? Finally, I was starting to get very frustrated, and she kept berating me and berating me and berating me. And the more I tried to explain it to her, the more she would just berate me. I was like, "Well, ma'am, would you like for somebody else to make your sandwich?" She's like, "Yeah, I want somebody else to make my sandwich." So I go into the back, and I get the crew leader, and I'm like, "Hey, this is the situation. Can you come and help this lady? Maybe you being in a higher position than me, she'll listen to you." So he comes up there, and again, she starts going on about how there's not enough tuna on that sandwich. She wants more tuna, demands for him to remake the whole sandwich. So he, obliges. He scraps that one, throws it away, cuts her new bread, puts her tuna on there, and starts making it. And she's like, "No, I want more tuna than that." And he gives her the whole thing that I said, "Oh, well, extra meat is $1 extra, etc., etc." And now she's starting to argue with him about extra meat. And I'm just standing there, because by this time I'm like, well, I'll go onto the register and, go ahead and have it ringed up for whenever she's ready. This lady starts cussing me out for everything that I am worth, calling me all kinds of names, just being flat out degrading to me. And like, it hurt my feelings. Like, I just, like, something in me snapped. I just had enough, and I'm like sitting there just sobbing with tears running down my face. And I was like, "You know what, F this job, F this place, and screw this fat bee." And I just stop what I'm doing, and I walk into the back. By this time, our manager has come back. I don't know where she was. I think she did a bank run or something like that. But by this time, our manager came back, and I'm sitting back there in the office, and she's like trying to console me, and she's like, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this job anymore. I'm sorry, but I have to quit. Like, it's just breaking my sanity. And she's like, "Are you absolutely sure that that's what you want to do?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm absolutely sure." And she's like, "All right, let's go clock you out." So I go back up front to go clock out, and I'm standing there, and I'm putting in my numbers to clock out and everything. And she walks over from where she was at, which is down here at the starting point of where the bar is at, where you make the sandwiches, comes all the way down to the side of where the register is and reaches over and slaps me. And I was in shock. Like, I didn't even know what to say. I'm just standing there, and I'd go and tell the manager what happened, and she's like, well, let's call the police. So the police get there, and they were of no help whatsoever. They flat out look at me and say, oh, well, if, we got to take you to jail, we got to take, if we got to take her to jail, we got to take you to jail. Basically saying we both got to go to jail for, fighting. And I'm like, but we weren't fighting. She walked over here and slapped me. There's cameras that recorded that. You can go view the cameras and see where she walked over here and just slapped me. And he's like, well, you didn't call her the B word? And I'm like, yeah, I did call her the B word. But that doesn't justify her coming over here and slapping me. And the police didn't help, and I was like, you know what, whatever, I don't even want to go to jail over this. So I got let go, she got let go. But what I think hurt me the most is that the crew leader that was there and the manager did not do anything. Like, they didn't step in at all and try to defuse this situation. And that's it. That's whenever I quit. So with that, I will never work at Subway again. Not all Subways are like that. I'm sure there are some great Subways to work for, just like there's some bad Subways to work for. For me, it was just a bad, poor experience. Y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all enjoyed hearing me talk about the time that I worked at Subway. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.